Morality is relative, but being a good person is not. The rules and customs of cultures across time have changed and come in and out of fashion. When you look at your own feeling that is independent of the pressures of society, it becomes very clear what is right and what is wrong. The truth is the truth, no matter who you are, where you're from, or whether you were born 6,000 years ago, or whether you were born yesterday. Self-deception, if anything, is the main impediment to realizing truth and realizing compassion and having a true moral sense. I'm not an ancient Greek philosopher like Aristotle. I didn't write an entire corpus on ethics and morality. I never even took classes other than introductory philosophy in college. But despite my lack of credentials, I have what's called the human heart. I don't need a thinking analytical mind to understand what is right and what is wrong. There are shades of gray, of course, but if you think about how you relate to another person, whether or not you choose to violate that other person is what determines your goodness or your badness. And that is not something where you'll be judged by an external arbiter of what's right and wrong. It's just a personal lived experience. When you do something that's wrong, you know it and you feel it, and you either deal with it or you suppress and bury it so that you can cope with what has happened. But when you've done something wrong, you just know. Even psychopaths have this sense. There's a common belief that psychopaths or sociopaths lack the capacity, and it's been studied scientifically, lack the capacity for empathy and for moral behavior. Not true. That capacity is there. However, it is both dormant and also blocked for very specific reasons. And so that's very hard to access. But even in those edge cases, people in those situations have the potential, though it may not be able to realize that due to neurological wiring and things that are hard to change. But almost everyone, which is my point, has this capacity for understanding what's right and wrong in a way that has nothing to do with how you have been raised or the cultural trappings of your time and place and space. It's very much a universal thing. It's very much a timeless thing. And while it is true, and especially nowadays is very emphasized, that each individual is a subjective reality, and so that everything outside of that is a reflection of their subjectivity. People are oftentimes quoted nowadays as saying there is no such thing as an objective truth. There's no thing that we can all agree upon that could be true. That's also not true. Qualities of truth have to do with kindness or compassion. It's something like that. It's hard to exactly describe what that means because it looks different in every circumstance. But hatred is not a quality of... Hatred is an aspect of, let me rephrase that. Hatred is an aspect of truth, but it is not a quality of truth. So there is a quality of truth that has to do with love. Very interchangeable. Love and truth are the same force. Hatred is just a little aspect or an offshoot of that. It is not the opposite of love. People say love and hate are the opposites. That's not true. Love and fear, yes, that's actually a little bit closer to the truth. But in truth, love has no opposite. It is actually a singular force that is called truth. And whatever that is, stands sort of objectively in its own self-affirming, whatever you want to call it, self-affirming existence or quality or something. Unfortunately, people through the history and religion have co-opted that thing to make it a righteous truth or a I'm right and you're wrong kind of truth, or you know what I mean? But that is not the quality of that at all. I just want to clarify that in this conversation that there is something that is an objectively true whatever. I don't know how to describe it, but you know it. If you feel into yourself, there's something beyond your thoughts, beyond your emotions, beyond your physical feelings you're having that is profoundly true at the core of the core, beyond the core. Explode the core into nothing, it's still true. Go beyond nothing and it's still true. Go beyond everything and it's still true. You lose the capacity to think and it's still true. You lose the capacity to even have emotions and it's still true. There is something that is a foundation ontologically, which means sort of really and materially, but also just metaphysically or just in ways we cannot even see or describe, that is just foundationally the ground of everything else. But it is not nothing, and it is not meaninglessness, and it is not wishy-washy. It actually has a very obvious and clear, pristine brightness to it that is truth, that is love. And that's unmistakable, and it's not something that is up for debate or conversation. And like I said, unfortunately, people in religious types of organizations have tried to personalize that in a way that has caused harm. Out of just misguided thinking. That doesn't make it any less true, though. It's still true. Just that you cannot have a monopoly on that truth, and you can't claim that your truth is better than someone. Come on. There's some really ridiculous, very silly things people do that I have a hard time relating to because it's just not my experience, but that my truth is more true than your truth? Come on, let's get real. Because as you listen to me talk, you might think that I'm saying that my version of the truth is better than yours. And it is not at all what I'm actually saying if you really listen to the words, or maybe even beyond the words. I'm saying that you're the only way that you can know the truth. You are, not me, you are. You're the only way that you can know the truth. The truth can appear as me, but it cannot be known as me. It can only be known through you, not as me. So that is sort of how I would describe that objective truth that I'm speaking of. Now, I can't remember why I started this talk. I feel like it had something more to do with modern politics. And I forget. Part of the reason why I'm a little distracted, though, and this is so common for me, is I actually need to go attend to my food. I live alone and I cook 3 meals a day. Long story. And so I just need to go deal with that. So I'm sorry to just cut this so abruptly in the middle of it, but I hope that you got the message. I feel like there was a message in this. I hope that you got it. And yeah, leave me a comment if you have any questions, or if you want to just educate me, because I don't know a lot of things. I find myself to be very ignorant on a lot of things, and I appreciate hearing other people's perspectives, So I don't like to come across as like, oh, I'm telling you a thing that I know what the thing is, because that's not, I know that's not true, right? But it's hard to talk about it without sounding that way sometimes, I find. So it's always good to get perspectives and feedback that helps to contrast or counter or round out or add to whatever it is that I'm thinking. Anyways, gotta go. Bye.